Hi everyone, Dr. Elena Monarch here with Mass Movement. Today we're talking about internal strength, part 2 of our conversation. If you were with us last week we talked about the human nervous system. We talked about the different parts, 2 parts being the sympathetic nervous system, which is also known as your fight or flight response, and your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that's responsible for recovery and building that internal strength, things like immune system, gastrointestinal health, and so on. Other thing we talked about last week was that your sympathetic nervous system doesn't just turn on if you're actually in a fight or flight situation. It turns on if there's any perception of threat in your mind. And that perception of threat can be literally anything. It can be a bill, a financial issue that sends you into fight or flight mode biologically with your sympathetic nervous system. It can be an argument with somebody. It can be a fear. It can be something that happened 5 years ago. It can really be almost anything at all that you perceive, consciously or unconsciously, as a threat. What that does is it puts you into this very high stress sympathetic mode. When you're in that sympathetic mode, the great thing is that if you actually got into a fight or you needed to do something physical, you'd be better at it at that time, because all your resources in your body, the blood flow, the muscle contraction, heart rate, blood pressure, everything would be up, and you'd be in a much better position to fight or to flee. However, when you're in that mode, you're neglecting all these beautiful things that the parasympathetic nervous system does and that we really, really rely on in order to stay healthy and recover. We also talked last week about that threat bucket can pull you up here, and the problem is that when you're in sympathetic mode, you can't also be in parasympathetic mode. These two nervous systems work in complete opposition to each other. So when the higher you are here, and sometimes I call this an elevator, and that everything in your threat bucket is bringing you to the top floor of the elevator. So let's say you wake up in the morning. When you're completely asleep in deep sleep, like stage 4 delta sleep, you're in parasympathetic mode, which is great. So the more sleep you get, the more recovery you get, which is great. But if you wake up in the morning, and let's just say you start off down here, and you would instantly remember something difficult that happened from the day before, or you're stressed out about anything at all, anything in your threat bucket, it's going to bring you up to the next floor pretty quickly. And then let's say that you hear some bad news, you turn on the news, or you're looking at Facebook and you hear something else not so great, and let's say that you hear somebody arguing in your house, that can push you up. And every single problem that's happening, a bad memory, anything like that, let's say you're not feeling great that day, even that gets added into your threat bucket. Each of these things bringing you up this elevator, right? And now you're up here in sympathetic mode, and neglecting that part of your recovery and replenishment from down here. Just to have kind of a gauge, it's really important for you to know that we're supposed to spend most of our time down here. We're supposed to be in parasympathetic mode most of the time. So any day that you're saying you feel stressed out, you're overwhelmed, things like that, that's your sign. Your threat bucket is way too high and you're up here, and while that might be typical nowadays, it's absolutely not healthy. It's absolutely not healthy. And that's why you have so many people turning to deep breathing and meditation and other things that bring them down here. Okay, so I want to give you a couple of strategies. Last week we talked about how, one strategy to pull yourself into parasympathetic mode is simply slowing down your breathing. And even 5 minutes of slower breathing has been shown to help people decrease their nervous system responses, especially if you can do that once or twice a day or every day of the week. Other strategies. Really quick biology lesson here. When you talk about the brain, people tend to think about the brain as being one organ, like one thing, and actually the brain is not one thing at all. If you were to look at the brain, it's actually almost like having 2 brains right next to each other, like this. Okay, they're close together, but it's really 2 brains. You have your right hemisphere of the brain, and you have the left hemisphere of the brain. And I have just realized that right and left were written on the wrong sides, right? Are they? Let's try this again. Right and left, I think, because I'm going this way. Okay. So here you have these two, imagine that these are actually two brains right next to each other like this. The left hemisphere of the brain has very different jobs than the right hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain actually helps you out in a stress situation. It's more involved in the sympathetic response. Left brain is verbal. That part of the brain loves problem solving. It's kind of future oriented, okay? It's always it's very directed, okay? So, and it's very detail oriented. And you can see how left brain would be really helpful for certain jobs. These are really great skills to have for certain things in life and certain jobs. But left brain is also responsible for your fear responses, fear and worrying and so on. And to make a very long story short about the brain, the reason for that is because your left amygdala is where your fight or flight responses are initiated. And so all of these things are going on in the left side of the brain, right? So your verbal skills are here, and your problem solving is here, and details are here, and there's all these connections. When you're in left brain, you're really reinforcing all of these connections, and and all of this kind of stuff can happen together. Left brain loves to be productive. And so it's kind of like busy mind over here, right? Now, right brain is really different. Right brain is kind of like, it's opposite of left in certain ways. Right brain is non-verbal, okay? Right brain loves visual things, and it loves the arts. Right brain is creative. It's where most of musical abilities lie. Right brain is big picture, okay? It's big picture, and it's kind of wise in certain ways. It sees things from different points of view. Right brain is not responsible for fear for initiating fear. Right brain is actually a part of the brain it's where you experience harmony and peace in your life, okay? All right. As you can see here, these right brain skills kind of come together when you're in a creative mode. It makes it more easy for you to do musical things, and when you're doing arts, that's nonverbal, and so on. You can see these things kind of hang together, and these hang together. And it's not that one side of the brain is better than the other or anything like that, but the problem is that unless you are an artist, or unless you're going out of your way to engage in right brain activities, we are all becoming way too left brain, and we're all becoming way too sympathetic mode in terms of your threat and your stress level. And so for now, what's really important, especially if there's a virus going around, or you have any concerns about your health, a really important thing to do for yourself is to remind yourself that you have to actively pull the resources in the left, all the energy from the left side of the brain over to the right. So if you think about it, your brain only has so much blood. Okay, blood rushes up to the brain. It only has so much blood. The blood is carrying glucose and energy, oxygen, okay? If the left brain, if you're in this mode over here, it's hogging up all the energy that your brain has into doing these sorts of things. And where is it hogging up the energy from? It's taking it away from right brain. Right brain is having to send all its energy over to left. And now you're just hanging out here, and you're worrying, and you're ruminating, and it's not a really fun place to be. So in order for you to activate right brain and to experience more peace and some more parasympathetic experiences day to day in recovery, then you're going to have to, and this is kind of a nice homework assignment. I hope that this is a prescription that you can follow without feeling like it's a burden at all. But day to day, you're going to have to pull yourself more right brain. Every day when you wake up in the morning, you get a fresh start. You have a new opportunity to be in parasympathetic mode. So before your elevator keeps going up and up and up and up every morning, maybe before you look at your phone, maybe before you do anything else, take a couple of your deep, nourishing breaths, right? Nice, slow, deep breathing, and ask yourself, what right brain activities am I going to do today? And it doesn't matter if you're busy. These right brain activities can be 5 minutes. And think about anything in this and the right brain activities that you might enjoy doing. So would you like to listen to some music that day? And would you want to work on a puzzle? Do you want to do some coloring? Do you want to go spend some time in nature? Actually, hanging out with animals can be very nonverbal. Is there something you want to create? Have you been wanting to do some type of a project? Anything right brain is going to automatically improve your mood, bring you more into parasympathetic mode, which is how you're going to allow your immune system to rebuild. Your muscles get a chance to grow. You're going to feel better inside. So make a commitment to it every morning when you wake up. Just a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths. Ask yourself, what am I going to do to reinforce right brain activities today?